Acting for Real 009, take a lot of work. First, if you want to learn more about our 7-point process and how you can apply it to your next film project, then go online. You can see the links in the description at lumen.tv/institute, and check out our online community as well. And you can see all these videos and even get more insights on our weekly Q&As. Acting for real. How do you know when you're acting for real? Who can tell? What is that difference that makes people say, check the gate, let's print that, and just moving on, doing another take. All right, I want you to do that. That was great. Just do it different. All those kind of things. So actors, you have to bring your A game when you're on film. You got to bring it all the time, right? But what does that mean? Like, how do you do it? There's 100 things we could talk about, but I'm going to focus on like your process. How are you approaching your work? And that is key. So one of the things that has to be your focal point is like, and I've found it's like, you have to approach your work with confidence. Like your confidence gives you the ability to fully invest in what you're doing, not taking, any like little thing you see, somebody's remark or, facial gesture or whatever. And you're like, oh, what? Do they don't like what I'm doing or all that kind of stuff? That can't happen. You have to be totally in it. You have to be totally malleable. So when you're confident, like truly confident, then when a director gives you direction, you will receive it. You will think about it, how to incorporate it into what you're doing, how it's going to work to your character, and maybe talk that out with them, and then do it. Like do it differently, like the director is asking of you. And that's like ultimate confidence. Ultimate confidence is not, this is how I've practiced it, and this is how I'm going to do it, and this is what you're going to get. That's not being confident. That's being arrogant and annoying and difficult to work with. And I wouldn't hire you again. So that's why when you're on an audition, they ask you to do it differently. You might think you've had a great audition, but they may be asking you to do it differently because they want to see if you're flexible. Because actors, we don't get the full story. Sometimes we don't even get the full script, literally, right? So, but you have to understand that just putting one, you got to trust the director, whether you like it or not. Your director is your director. That's one thing. So, but you have to approach your work with confidence. And you might say, okay, where does that come from? Oh, I'm so glad you asked. This confidence has to come from the big guy. It's got to come from the Lord. You have to like totally find your confidence in him. Like you are the child of a king. He loves you. He absolutely adores you. And when you see that, when that is like a reality to you, then whatever anyone else says to you just kind of like is water off a duck's back. You can take the criticism. You can take the different directions. You can take all those things because the only one you're really concerned about is Jesus Christ. And am I pleasing to him? So obviously that's going to affect everything you do. You're going to live a moral life. You're going to do moral parts. You're not going to do immoral parts, right? You're going to give it your best for the King of Kings, right? Now, we could spend a whole time on learning that confidence, but that's something you've got to do your homework on. And when you fully invest in that, that's going to give you a greater freedom than being some kind of like wacky artist, actor who's always moody and has to brood and, lives in a filing cabinet so he can play a part for a submarine and all that kind of stuff. Like, first, if you got to go do some experimentation of like what's it like to live in close quarters and all that stuff, great. Yeah, go ahead. Go do that. But there's limits. You have a life. Your life is beyond acting. It's beyond this part because it's all, as my friend says, it's all going to burn. Like everything, people are going to forget about this. Like the guy on the screen behind me. How often do you think about him? All right. He was an actor, really great, huge eyes. You can see the whites of his eyes all the way around his pupil. It's incredible, right? But acting for real. What happens in the acting for real? Well, first, like the slate board comes. You don't get one take. You might get multiple takes, and you may have multiple angles. So it all has to match, right? Like all these things have to work together. Well, if you were doing a math problem on the board, 2 + 2 = 4. Okay, let's get that from this angle. 2 + 2 = 4. It's going to look the same every time. They can cut it up and all that sort of stuff. But you have to give them some sort of continuity in your acting. And at the same time, you cannot like just over practice and rehearse this in the mirror. Like, I don't know. People do that. I know they do that, but I don't get that. Sorry. I think it makes your acting kind of like going down the trail of tears, and not just because it's horrendous to watch and tearful to watch, but you get stuck in a rut. You get stuck in a rut and you can't move out of those ruts. Your wheels are locked in and you're going to do it. And they're going to tell you, say, okay, that was great. But this time I want you to pretend like this person is, this person is trying to intimidate you, and you're not going to let them intimidate you. So I want you to fight back, but fight back, in that way. Okay. So that's your act. Okay. And then you do it the same way you just did it. And in our minds, we think we did it differently. It's the craziest thing. So I'm just going to tell you, if wherever you are in your acting thing, especially if you're a little bit earlier on in it, or you're transitioning, you might be a professional actor, but maybe you do more theater or whatever. You need to get yourself in front of a camera. I don't care who's recording you. You record yourself, and you need to watch it, and you need to like let people give you direction, tell you things that to do differently, and see if you do them. See if you do them. Okay, some of that's kind of rudimentary, but like moving on. So this acting, that the homework you have to do, coming with your A game, that A game has to do with the preparation as an actor. And hopefully you get to talk to your director, and hopefully you get the whole script, and you can ask for it. You should. And you need to understand where your character falls in to the whole scene and what kind of arc is going on with them. Like, try to understand them as a person, like as a human being, and how they react and why they do what they do. There's like the old thing, what's my motivation? Well, there's a lot of truth to that. Like, we only do things, we only act things because we've been motivated by something. Maybe it's a motivation for greed. Maybe it's a motivation to defend ourselves. Maybe it's a motivation of just like joy or happiness or something, or like we want something. We want to feel loved. Usually that's a lot of things that drive people, is that desire to feel loved, right? So whatever that motivation is, you got to do the work. How? And then the other thing too, it's not just about, okay, this person wants to feel loved and this person hurts them. They get hurt by this character. This person rejects them. And how does that make you feel as an actor? Sometimes your character, maybe they want to cry, right? Maybe they really want to cry. But are they going to cry? Like, why? Because we hide our emotions constantly. Like, as actors, we get bottled up inside. As soon as they call action, we're like, everything tenses up, right? Why? Because all of a sudden we don't want to show our emotions. We want to do good. We're trying to do our best, and a lot of times we put the horse behind the cart. You know what I'm saying? And then we're too focused on the end goal, and instead of like the process of getting there. So doing that preparation work, sitting down and talking with your director, finding out, what's important and how can you bring their vision to life of what they're doing, because these are all supporting characters. Like well, some of them are leads, right? But you're there to support, if you're in a supporting role, for something bigger, to like hold something up, like whatever the story is about. That's what you're there to do, right? So do that and figure out how it is that you can do that instead of trying to upstage or whatever. You always see people doing that in moments in film and whatever. I'm just saying is that like your big thing that you're doing there is whoever your character is to serve the story. And that's what you got to find out from your director. What's motivating this guy? And the motivations may sound different than what you would prefer. You may think about your character. But once you talk about your character with your director, and y'all come to the agreement, and it might not be what you were wanting, you got to go with it. And then it's your job to figure out how to deliver, right? And you, as an actor, your goal is to be available to stimulus. You need to like receive what your environment is giving you, the set, the location, the other actors, mainly working with them, being open and available to that stimulus. And if that's difficult for you to just be open and available, then that's something you got to work on. Like that comes back, and a lot of times it does come back to the confidence thing. It comes back to like finding your confidence and nothing else but Jesus Christ. A world of opportunities opens to you when you do that. And it expands your repertoire, so to speak, your toolkit of places you can go as an actor. But that homework, all that homework you do to go to those different places ahead of time, that's what you're bringing. But you've got to know it's like point A to point B. And this is where you need to be the day of shooting, right? And you're here. How are you going to get there? Well, you got to know where you are. Well, what if you wake up one morning, like this first day of shooting, you're here and you got to get here. And you're down here and you go, oh, okay, I got to go there. Well, then the next day, you're here, but you've still got to go there. And you're like, oh, I did this yesterday and I'm going to go. You're going to miss your target, right? So you have to know who you are. You have to know how you feel. And you have to let your intellect run the show. Don't be controlled by your emotions. And you'll be like, oh, you just told me to be emotional, all that stuff. Yes, you have to be emotional. You have to learn how to let the right side of your brain and the left side of your brain cooperate, right? The right side is the crazy side. It's the emotional side. The left side is the intellectual, sort of more of a thought process side. And figure out how to let the left side of your brain, through exercises, I can't do it all right here in this video, but to guide the right side of your brain to those places where you need to go. And left side of your brain, don't tell the right side of your brain to cry. Don't tell the left side of your brain to be angry. No, help them in a real way. Okay, we're going to give one example. But say, do you remember the time? Do you remember the time that this happened? And the left side of your brain remembers the time. The right side of your brain, you can remember the time too. And the left side of your brain remembers, like, it knows, like kind of director knows, I need my actor to be angry here, right? So, but don't tell the right side to be angry. Just say, do you remember that time where so-and-so said this to you? And the right side's like, yes. and say, and then just lead it through. Like, what do you remember about that? What did you see during that time? What did you smell? How did that make you feel? Like, you can say those different things, and then you, the right side of the brain, remember right side, don't say it made me angry, but just feel it. Like, direct that side, your emotional side, to that place where they can have a real experience. And every time it can end up being a little bit different, right? But it's coming from a real place, REAL place, that you can do over and over again. Because if you know how you feel at the beginning of the day, at the beginning of your exercises, and then you know where you need to go, and the left side of your brain tells you, gets you going with these kind of leading questions to incite the emotional response that is required for the scene. And a good director is gonna help you, and the good director is gonna know how you work ahead of time. They're gonna ask you those questions to figure out how you work to help get you there if you're stuck. Like, go back to your choice, that kind of thing. So, but then you start here. You're at point A, and this is what's going to help you, the engine, the car that's going to drive you to point B for the scene. But the greatest freedoms for an actor come when they're able just to completely surrender, completely submit to the work. And that requires humility, because you may look foolish while you're doing it. But remember, everybody loves it when they see someone perform that way, when they perform like with just complete abandonment to the scene, to the moment, living in that moment. So that should, like, as actors, that we need to remember that they're not working against you. They want your good. They want your good. And who cares if they say they don't, or people express it weirdly and they still make weird comments and all that stuff to you. What they really want to be touched by your performance. And that's where you need to stay. And the way you stay there is staying rooted in Jesus Christ. I know it sounds like a simple formula, and it kind of is, but it takes work. It takes practice. It takes that preparation. You've got the same way you need to know what car is going to drive you to point B for your scene, what choice, okay, is going to get you there. That same preparation work you have to do with yourself, so that you are a docile instrument, so you are open and available to stimulus, so that you can bring to life whatever is on that script, and in a way that the director is guiding you. So just a quick note to the directors, like, you have to help them make sure they're in the right car, and don't try to like put them in your own director's car, or you're on your director's chair and get them there. It's not going to work. You're going to be frustrated, and you're going to get the same thing. You're going to be on take 12, take 20, and it's like not going anywhere. And you think, and everyone's just hoping and pleading and praising, please, Lord, let this be the take. Preparation will stop that. It'll stop that from happening. So we're going to talk about this some more, but that's pretty good for right now, I think. Now, you want to make sure that you go and look into the Lumen Institute so we can have more conversations, because it's hard to do this just through a podcast. We got to have some one-on-one conversations. So check out the links in the description, and let's do that there. Now, it's more important to act like you're in heaven than to act in another film. But you can do both. You can act like you're in heaven while making a film. And the next time I see you, I want to see Christ anew.